Hey pool owners, welcome back to another poolside repair presented by InyoPools.com. Today we're going to show you how to install a Pentair Intellichlor IC60. This pool is about 38,000 gallons. Currently has a Hayward Aquarite, which is another salt chlorine generator. The Aquarite, the one they have is a T-Cell 15, which is good for about 40,000 gallons. We're going to step it up to an Intellichlor IC60, so that it should be able to keep up with the chlorine demand much better. But let's get started. Alright, the first thing you want to do is cut off the power, so I'll turn it off for the timer. And then to be safe, we're also going to cut it off at the breaker. We'll just go ahead and shut off everything. Alright, it's recommended that you put the Intellichlor or any salt system on a timer. That way it turns on and off with the pump. This particular timer is a T104. So the power that's going to run to the Intellichlor box is going to be hooked up to the load terminals, which on a Intermac T104 are going to be 2 and 4. So you'll hook those up there, you'll hook your ground into the box, and then feed the cables through the conduit and back to the to where the Intellichlor power supply is going to be. So we're going to find a good spot on the wall to mount the power center. A couple things you want to keep in mind. The power center should be at least 8 feet away from the pool's edge. And also, the salt cell comes with 15 feet of cable, so you want to make sure that the power center is within 15 feet of where you're going to mount the cell on the plumbing. So first thing we're going to do is get rid of this old Aquarite box, and then we'll mount the power center. Alright, we found a good spot for our power center. So we're going to mark the holes here. That'll be for the screws. I've got our little leveler here to make sure everything looks good. Alright, so we'll mark the 3 at the top, and then we'll mark 3 at the bottom. Okay, we got our spots on the wall marked here. We're going to go ahead and drill those out. I'm using a 3/16 drill bit for our 1/4 inch anchors. Let's go ahead and get this started. Alright, so we've got the power center hung, so now we're going to gain access to the inside so we can get it wired. So there's just one little screw holding the cover on. You just remove that with a Phillips head. And then go ahead and lift the cover off. These boxes can be wired for 230 or 115. The power that was there before is 230. But if you need directions for 115 voltage, it's on the inside of the cover. And so we're going to go ahead and remove this knockout at the bottom of the box. Put our conduit in, feed the wires through. Alright, as you can see here, it's marked for 220, 240, so these are the 2 wires we're going to use. Okay, we're going to go ahead and feed our 3 wires through here. We got the red and the black, which are hot lines, and then the green is the ground. That's just going to come up through here. Get our conduit fed through there. Get our nut fed over the wires here. Okay, so get our conduit tightened up there. And we'll go ahead and start connecting. So we're going to connect these 2 hot lines to this yellow and white line. And it doesn't matter which one goes to which, as far as like the white can go to the red or black. For this install, we'll just do white to the black, and we'll use our wiring nut. And we'll connect the yellow line to the red hot line. Alright, once you connect the hot lines, last one you'll want to connect is the green ground line. So you'll just loosen this on the grounding lug here. Got the ground line connected to the grounding lug there, and so we'll go ahead and shove these cords back into the box. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and put the cover back on and then tighten the screw. Alright, and after you get this tightened, the next step is going to be bonding this power supply with the rest of the equipment. Alright, to bond the power supply we're going to use some 8-gauge copper wire, and we're going to connect it to the bonding lug at the bottom of the power supply. And basically what you're doing by bonding is all the metallic equipment around the pool should be bonded so that if you were to touch this there wouldn't be any stray current and you wouldn't shock yourself. So that's why it's important to bond the equipment. And so we'll connect it here at the power supply. Alright, so we've got it connected at the power supply. Now the opposite end needs to be connected to the other bonding wires. Okay, so the rest of the pool is bonded, so we found the bonding line. This one actually runs directly to the pump. And so we connected the bonding wire that goes to the power supply here using a split nut. And since this had a code on it, we just used a little knife and cut some of the coating so that you get good contact between both bonding wires. Alright, we've got the power center installed and properly bonded. So now we're going to move on to installing the salt cell. Alright, we're to the point now where we're going to install the salt cell. A couple things you want to keep in mind. These salt cells are meant to operate between 25 gallons per minute and 105 gallons per minute. However, if you're above 80 gallons per minute, you got to put in a bypass. And basically a bypass would be, you have the water coming through the pipe, you have a T where some of the water goes through the cell, some of the water bypasses the cell. And this pool, it's not going to go over 80 gallons per minute, so we're not putting a bypass in. Another thing to keep in mind is you want 12 to 18 inches of straight pipe before the cell. So we're going to place it here and hopefully give it about at least 12 inches. Also, the Akurite system has a separate flow sensor that you got to plumb in. On the Intellichlor, the flow sensor is actually already inside the cell, so that's nice. We don't have to do any more plumbing there. One more thing on the Intellichlor cell, you'll notice it says flow with an arrow. You want to make sure that's lined up properly, so it's coming out of the filter. If you have a heater, there'll be a heater, and then the water will pass through the cell. So you want to make sure that's plumbed in correctly with the arrow pointing in the direction of the water flow. Okay, before we take the old salt cell out, we're going to bleed the air, which will drain all the water from the system. So we're just going to loosen this pressure relief on the filter. Alright, I've got the salt cell installed, so now we're going to plug the cable into the power center. So, just plugs it at the bottom, and then you just turn this nut to tighten it. And then once that's on there, you can go ahead and turn the power back on. Okay, got the timer reset. We're going to go ahead and flick on the power. Alright, so we got the system turned on, everything looks good. Starting up here, it says salt level. It's green, so it's good. If it's flashing, it's got high salt. If this is lit up, it means it's low salt. It says the ideal salt level is 3,600 parts per million. Status, the cell light is green, that's good. If it's flashing, it means inspect cell. And the flow is good, so that's lit up green. And if there was an issue, if the flow is low, it'd be red. Down here, you have your sanitizer output. And, you know, it's 20, 40, 60, 80, 100%. So obviously 100% is going to be, you know, full bore. We got it dialed in the middle here, and we'll test it in a couple days, see if it's good, and make adjustments from there. And then you got your controls down here to boost or lower the sanitizer output. And if you want to super chlorinate or run it at 100% for 24 hours, you just hold both the less and more buttons at the same time. Alright, we've got the Pentair Intellichlor installed. Everything's working great. The installation wasn't too complicated. If you have any questions about this installation or anything else pool related, leave a comment down below or visit us over at inyopools.com. Thanks for watching.